All right, hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. You're here with Tom and you're here with George. Hello, George.
Hey guys, hi, hello.
Hopefully everybody's having a lot better day today. We had our members only stream on Tuesday, which was a big red day, and everybody was panicking. But sure enough, for the moment, things have turned around. So today was a much better day. We're going to go through what went on this week, why today was a better day. There was really one reason alone. And things always tend to go the opposite way than you think. This is today I'm going to show some articles that, you know, going into this Friday, and I'm talking about Jerome Powell at Jackson Hole going in, you know, all week going in, it was just fear. And I must admit, I'm very surprised by what he said. I thought he was pretty entrenched in the opposite position, but somebody has, I don't want to say gotten to him, but gotten through to him maybe is a better way to say it. And he was talking a little bit of common sense, and the market liked it a lot. The regular market liked it. The cryptocurrency market liked it. And it was a game changer, at least for today. So you can see I have the 15-minute chart up here. And right, this was at 10 o'clock Eastern time in the morning. This is when Jerome Powell released his statement, and you can see it was just straight up from there, and it held and it went up the rest of the day. So very strong day for the majority of the Bitcoin miners. Two exceptions: Core Scientific was down 1.7% and TerraWolf was down 0.3%. So not a big deal. When you had some others, IREN up over 9%, CIFR up over 8%, HUT up over 9%, Hive up over 8%, Riot up 7.7%. So there was some really good performers today. Other than a couple of outliers, this was a really good day for the Bitcoin miners. And this was
huge.
Sorry to interrupt, George.
It was a huge day, Tom.
It was a huge day, and I'm going to show everybody. I want to go through the weekly numbers because I can tell you they're really defeating us. And maybe not you guys in specific, and I hope not you guys in specific, but the retail investor is getting defeated. And they're just so good at it. You can't describe it. But I'm going to go through it and try to anyway. If you would do us a favor, we got 14 likes right now. We're going for 100, and my like button does not work.
I want to see how the show goes before I like it, Tom. Not gonna lie.
Oh, you're gonna wait it out.
Waiting it out.
Well, unlike George, anybody who's willing to, if you could hit the like button, it does help us out a lot in real time on the stream. So let's get the word out. Let's get people in the loop, in the know. And I see a lot of members in the comments section. So special welcome to all the members. Hope you guys had a good day. Hope everybody had a good day. There wasn't much red to be found today, so unless you were in something real specific, you probably had a pretty good Friday, which is nice to end the week. But you'll see, one thing I want to point out is if you guys can see this dotted gold line, it's very thin right here. This is where Bitcoin was when the market closed last Friday. So we took a gigantic journey all the way, literally. I mean, we are pretty much exactly back to where we started a week ago. So, and other than today feeling great, pretty much all the days in the middle felt awful. But the reality is, here we are right back where we started. And when you look at the Bitcoin miners, on a week where Bitcoin did 0, there were some spectacular performers this week. So this is how they win. Things are going well and they make you feel like things are going terribly. And you panic and you get out, and then this happens. And it just never, they've done this to us 50 times, and there's just, you know, you'd like to say, well, this is the last time they're going to get us, but this is what they do. And this is why we talk about volatility on this channel relentlessly, because Bitcoin miners, cryptocurrency, this is all the most volatile stuff there is. And just as fast as we went back up to where we were last Friday, I'll show you a pattern that I think is developing where people are going to start talking bearish again in a matter of days. So,
absolutely. And just so you guys know, just because he's talking the way that he's going to cut rates, Powell, I wouldn't trust him. I just don't trust the guy.
It's a fair point. There's a long time between. I think that meeting is September 17th, so there's almost a month left for him to pull the rug out on everybody.
And I mean, this would be the best freaking fake out of all times. And I mean, think of how much money they could steal from everybody. Because I don't know. Somebody said that they said this was the beginning of alt season, 10K XRP by 2045. Alt season started today. Hope you're in your position. I don't know if that's true. I thought alt season was going to start in August, but I think we might have to pivot that out a little.
You think it's going to be a little later than that?
I do, because here's why. These guys go on quarters, right? They like to go 3 months at a time, and they like to make their billions of dollars, right? And,
all right.
And it's the middle of a quarter. And so I could see a nice little dump next month before we go into a strong finish for the fourth quarter.
September 30th will be the end of the next quarter.
Yeah.
I want to get to Sourmelon Gaming. Sorry to interrupt, George, who gave us a super chat and said, treasuries are getting left in the dust. Called it. So we're definitely, that is on my list today to go through the companies that are treasurying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are having a very, very tough run. Some of them had a good day today. One of them got destroyed today. And I'm going to show you, we'll talk about a trade. I rarely make trades. I'm more of a buy and hold person. But I got out of MicroStrategy on, I think, April 23rd, and I'll show you what that trade has done since then, because it's staggering. And when Sourmelon Gaming says the treasuries are getting left in the dust, I mean, it's crazy. So we'll talk more about that later. Thanks for the super chat. And I also wanted to give a shout out. Thank you, Alex, who's also a member. Alexander said, Tom on the members stream on Tuesday warned us about a switcheroo pump. So we did talk about that. Thanks for remembering. Because this is the way they do it. This is exactly what they do.
They got to give us something, Tom. They got to keep us in the game. I'm serious.
Well, the problem is they keep taking money from us.
Right.
And I know there's a bunch of you here that have been doing this long enough. You're used to the volatility. You play your way through it. But I can tell you we've all gotten caught, I'm sure, more than once. And it's very hard. It's very difficult. This line at 112 that we've been talking about for a while held up like an absolute champion. And it was tested. When we go to the 1 day, you're going to see this was tested multiple times. And it just simply held. There was a buy wall at $112,000. And then obviously once Jerome Powell said what he said, it was, a different story. But to George's point, there's almost a month between now and that meeting. So.
And Lee, I hope it's Lee. I believe that he believes what he says today. But the problem is he might wake up and flip the coin and not make it. Or somebody above him says this. And when I mean above him, the guys, let's just say nobody controls anybody, but there's somebody that wants to make a shit ton of money off of us, okay? And that guy says, yeah, maybe you shouldn't mess with those rates. Because if you mess with those rates, maybe you should give them till November.
Here's the thing. What he said today was not definitive at all. We'll go through a couple of articles, but it was the first time that he was talking dovish all year. So just the shift in tone, I think, took a lot of people by pleasantly surprised. And, you know,
then you gotta realize, does he do 1 basis point, 2 basis? What does he do? You know what I mean? And I think that's what's going to happen. Is I think come the 17th, whatever happens, no one's going to be happy about it because it seems to be the typical market sentiment.
the key, I'm going to go to the let's go here and refresh this and take a look, because here's the key to these Fed meetings. So the next meeting is September 17th. You'll see today the futures are pricing in an 83% chance of a 25 basis point rate cut. Yesterday, that was 75%. Now, a week ago, it was 85. One day in the middle, it was almost 95. It's been all over the place. So the market's a bit confused. On September 16th, if this is in the 90s, then the market will have priced in what's going on. If this starts to be 60-40, you know, uncertainty, that's where we potentially get whammied. But if this is at 95% and he doesn't do a rate cut, I will be shocked, and there will be too many very important people that would be upset with that for me to believe that it could even happen. So this is something I keep my eye on.
Too late, Powell. I think a 0.25 is not enough.
Oh, it's not. I agree.
It's just way. And I think that would cause another panic.
You can see the chances of a 0.5 basis cut are 0.
Yeah.
That's how conservative they're being right now. So I would do, good thing I'm not there. Actually, it's actually not a good thing, because I would have already done a full point by now, at least. And they're talking about maybe doing 1/4 of a point in September. This is rates. The U.S. rates are absolutely ludicrous by any measure that you compare them to. So you're right. Even this 25, but at least the market will be happy that something is better than nothing. We want to meet expectations. If we don't meet expectations, we're going to get a crash. So, and I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying this is an important chart to keep our eye on. You're predicting.
I am.
You're calling it. You're calling crash.
I am. Let me be the first one to say it right now.
Let's see what the people think.
Because the goal is to take your Bitcoin, right? The goal is to take your XRP, your Bitcoin, your stock, your money. And the only way you do that is you got to have a solid 20% whack 'em. Whack 'em, Jerry, whack 'em.
So I'm just going to do a simple yes or no. New poll. Will we have a Bitcoin crash in August/September before the September 17th meeting? And I'm defining that by saying if we go down and retest 100 or lower, that to me, crash might not be the right word, but
I don't think we'll get below 100. I just don't. I just can't imagine.
But you think we'll retest 100?
We will get real close.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
And by the way, when everybody doesn't agree with me, those are usually the days that it works out exactly the way I anticipate.
Being a contrarian is usually highly profitable in the stock market, but it's also extremely difficult because you've got so many voices all echoing the same message that you feel like you're the stupid one for thinking what you think. And you don't do it, and then it turns out it would have been right.
Yes. And I agree with you. I do have the worst takes. Don't listen. Tom and I always say this: do your own due diligence. Don't listen to us. Bring yourself to cut down maybe some of the noise with us.
That's right. None of this is financial advice. And listen, we all have good takes and bad takes. That's just the way it is. There's nobody out there that knows the future and knows what's going to happen, particularly in the short term. I do believe you can assess the fundamentals of whether it's a company or a commodity or whatever it is, and you can have a long-term picture that's accurate. But very short-term price predictions, let's be honest. I mean,
It's
we're
hard.
just we're
No one knows.
well, any one thing happens, and all of a sudden, boom! What you thought was going to happen this week happens 2 weeks from now, because random thing A happened in the middle.
Or is it called Archangel Capital? Is that what it was called? Every single one of their cert positions were right. They just took $3.4 billion 2 months before they were right and made them go out of business.
Right. So that's the problem. The market can stay irrational for longer than you can stay.
Stay solvent.
Exactly right. So
But I will tell you, I closed out of some positions this past week, and I can say that I've made more money this last year than I've ever thought, than I ever have in investing. How about that?
Yeah, for sure. This has
been my best year ever in investing. Take that for what it's worth.
And I see a Ty saying miners can pump 5x in 2 to 3 months, and we've looked at examples of that happening. So the question is when, and can you wait? And it's not easy. I mean, no, there's nobody that thought we were going to have to wait this long. And I'll be more specific. I didn't think we were going to have to wait this long before we got our moves.
I did not sell any stocks yet, Tom. I'm still just letting them chill because I don't think it's done either.
I'm still buying 6 months after I thought I was done buying. So, but if they're going to give it away, I'm going to buy it. CleanSpark, the price of CleanSpark, in my opinion, again, not financial advice, is just laughable. It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous. So I bought more. That's.
Oh, did you?
Under $10.
That blows my mind.
It's ridiculous. And it's not the only one that's undervalued. Some people may argue some of them are ahead of themselves and due for a pullback. But I do think if you look at the technicals on a lot of these charts, there's a lot of these stocks that have pretty much pressed the reset button and are due to run. So, if you just endured the whole trip down, I would just say consider that before you sell low. And
if you don't need it, you know what I mean?
That's right. What's your investment timing and what's your risk tolerance?
For the year in my stock portfolio, I'm up 100%.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's still down overall, but I'm up 100%.
Robbie
but
said,
I haven't traded anything.
Robbie said, amen, Tom. Sold all my IREN for Spark, no brainer. So and for the people that choose to do that, like IREN, I'm going to go to the chart. I mean, here's CleanSpark, right? And these are all up significantly off their bottoms, but you can see CleanSpark it's 27% off of its highs from 2 months ago. Versus, if you're in IREN, I mean, this has hit a new all-time high again today. This thing has been on fire. You're up from April 8th, which was our day here on the channel on the members only. We called, and I'll probably do this once or twice in my lifetime, but we called the bottom on that day because it was obviously the bottom. And here, IREN's up 309%. So if you took your profits on that and went and reinvested it, good for you. It's hard to argue against 300% profit. So, and to whoever's point was these things can 5x, that was a 3x in a short period of time. So this is what happens when they run. We got 31 likes. We're gonna need those likes.
Feeling good. I might like you, Tom. I'm not sure.
You're starting
yet,
to lean towards liking the stream.
Yeah.
We didn't get our 100 last week. The third time in history. We did not
Really?
get our
That's
100 likes.
Crazy.
Yes. Well, and it's every time it's marks a bottom. It's without fail, because that's when people have lost the most interest. Nobody's showing up. Everybody's left the Bitcoin mining stocks for dead. And I can't tell you how many thousand different ways I've had it explained to me by everybody that these stocks don't make sense and they're never going to run again. And I just have a different opinion. And I suspect many of you here do as well, or you wouldn't be watching. I think you're going to see big gains. And I'm going to show you the actual facts, the numbers as they've played out. And I don't think it's what people think it is. And that's their brilliance. They can make you feel like a stock is an F when it's performing as a B. The stock, forget the company's performance. I'm talking about the stock's performance. And that's what they've mastered doing. So let's take a look. A lot went on. Oh, I got one story I can't wait to get to today. But we're not going there first. So quickly we'll talk about here. This is on Yahoo. I got a couple of different articles. Powell's Jackson Hole speech turns Fed's focus towards curious labor market. So this was the language that he used. For those of you who didn't watch and don't know, Powell's speech at Jackson Hole Economic Symposium suggested that while tariffs have created significant uncertainty about the path of inflation, it's now the U.S. labor market that bears closer watching from the central bank. And remember, the Fed has dual purpose, and it's labor, it's the unemployment rate, and the inflation rate. So they're meant to balance those two things. So they've got to decide which of those two things is dictating which needs more attention. And that's how they base their policy around it. And Jerome Powell, despite, in my opinion, well over a year of inflation being well under our 50-year average, continues to call out inflation as the boogeyman. This is the very first time. That statement right there is the first time that he said it's now the U.S. labor market that bears closer watching from the central bank. That is a fundamental shift. He has not said anything that even slightly resembles that. While the labor markets appear to be in balance, it's a curious kind of balance that results from a market slowing in both the supply of and demand for workers. This unusual situation suggests that downside risks to unemployment are rising. And if those risks materialize, they can do so quickly in the form of sharply higher layoffs and rising unemployment. So that's the shift. We'll see what data comes out between now and then, because let's just say, for instance, we get a bad CPI number. All of a sudden he could, as George is suggesting, he could say, well, you know, at Jackson Hole, it seemed like the labor markets were the problem, but now we got a bad CPI number. We can't lower rates. So we got to wait for it. With that said, you got to take the news as it comes. And today, this is the news we got. We got something we haven't gotten in the year 2025, which is Jerome Powell talking about labor markets. And just so everybody understands the correlation, essentially that would be a cue that he's going to be lowering interest rates. And that's the first talk of that all year. So this is just another, oh, no, that's not where I was going. We can go there next. Sour Melon Gaming, thanks for being a member, said Bitcoin to 125 to 130,000 next week. That would be a beautiful thing. New all-time high. I hope you're right. Let's end our poll. and get a new one. We got 38 likes. We got 32 votes on the poll. What's happening
I was
today?
just looking at Riot.
Yeah.
Do you know Riot has, doubled since April? I'm sure you do.
That's one of my big positions. So, and I bought into a bunch of stuff on that April 8th day. It was like open season. If it went the other way, I would have been an idiot, but fortunately it went the right way.
So you're doing good with Riot now?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, nice. Are you reading in the comments about what's going to happen with Riot and the AI?
I was just starting to I know Riot stock is performing extremely well, and it's, in my opinion, it is absolutely off of the back of that contract that TeraWulf got. There's 3 or 4 companies that are trading positively because TeraWulf got that huge contract, and I see GG Beach saying Meta canceled its AI and joins Google. Wolf, who signed with Riot? And then LM is saying, what does CleanSpark with HPC and AI? So I'm going to talk about that too, because apparently they alluded to something here, and there may be a new picture being drawn at CleanSpark, who was adamant they were the only 100% pure play Bitcoin miner, maybe switching gears. So, and I'm okay with that. I think, and I was the ultimate skeptic about this high performance computing stuff, in that I just wasn't sure the demand was going to meet the supply as everybody was racing to build as fast as they possibly could. And I'm still not sure it's going to, but we've seen now, we saw Core Scientific a year ago or more get a multi-billion-dollar contract. Now we just saw TeraWulf get a multi-billion-dollar contract. The only thing I would warn you is those multi-billions of dollars are over a 10-year contract with 2 5-year extensions. That's 20 years. So it's not like they're going to get $2 billion next year, but they're going to average around $300 million a year from that one contract, which is more than their entire revenue from the year is going to be from mining Bitcoin. So TeraWulf committed. They went all in, and we had talked about it on this channel. Like, if you're buying that as a Bitcoin mining company, don't, because they've given up on Bitcoin mining, and that doesn't mean they're not mining anymore at all, but they stopped at 12 exahash, and they have absolutely made it crystal clear they are focused, I think 75% of their infrastructure, on high performance computing. IREN is focusing massively on high performance computing. There are others. Bitfarms is. Riot made a big fundamental change. And that was from, go ahead, George.
Did you see that BlackRock is purchasing a lot of utility companies across the United States?
I did not see that.
I know of 3 right now.
Not sure I like the sounds of that.
I don't know if I like the sounds of that either. Sorry.
Hope Ty is saying, I hope Riot has a Microsoft deal. These are the deals, and this was a part of what I was skeptical about. And so to see, not only did TeraWulf get a big deal, but Google was involved in it. And to me, that was a huge catalyst, because I've been saying, asking the question, why would Google or Microsoft or Apple or Amazon, companies that have, multi-trillion-dollar market cap, $100 billion in the bank, why would they outsource what they believe their most, important piece of their future? So I was worried, they're going to build their own, right? Pull it in-house. Now, maybe their plan is to make a bunch of deals with Wolf and then buy TeraWulf, because that's what CoreWeave did. They made deal after deal with Core Scientific, and now there's a buyout on the table. It's not a done deal, so be careful of that, but it seems likely. and the hate continues. CleanSpark needs money to fuel for that jet. That's why they're switching to high performance computing. Listen, they've given everybody a reason to point the finger at them and throw hate at them in the way of officer compensation based on the fact that they bought a jet. So I get it, but I'm still looking at the fundamentals of that company going, it's just, in my opinion, it is worth significantly more than it is being priced in the market.
When do you think they will talk about the strategic reserve and stuff of that nature and what have you be?
The federal government.
Yes.
I think you're going to get a federal, and and to me, this is going to be a top 5 catalyst of all time. And the ETFs were a top 5 catalyst of all time. So to date, I believe the ETFs have been the #1 catalyst for Bitcoin in history. And this is maybe not at that magnitude, but it's pretty close. And
I think it could be better.
It could be.
Yeah.
I believe the U.S. federal government will buy Bitcoin in 2025.
So you think it could be like a strategic special
reserve? That's right. We may have Christmas come early this year. That's what I think, because this administration has kept its foot on the gas. It's not like they talked a lot of hype in the campaign, but here's the thing: they're doing it, and we have seen a wholesale shift in the federal government's attitude towards cryptocurrency. It's a flip has been switched, and now there's no undoing it. So are they serious about their reserve? Yes, and I think they're going to buy some this year. That's probably sooner than most people think they're going to buy into the strategic reserve.
GG Beach, this is a good. U.S. government is buying 10% of Intel. Trump says more deals like this will come. Will they acquire Marathon? Or will they buy 10% of Marathon? And the same with CleanSpark.
Well, see, GG Beach, thanks for the comment. That's absolutely a great, and I do have that deal up, and we can look at it. I think that deal is brilliant. This is for, and I'm biased as an American. I'm looking to America outsourced its supply chain. Let's just be honest. That's what happened. And it's not safe. So locking down some supply chain in your own country, I don't care which country you live in, wherever you may live in the United States, in Canada, in the EU, is where most of our watchers are from, but I know people are from all around the world. Whatever country you're in, if you can be self-reliant on something, that is a positive thing. And Intel is really the only company that's a semiconductor type chip making company in the United States. And they are fumbling and bumbling. No, they could have had no CEO for the last 10 years, and they would not have done any worse than they're doing right now. So somebody's got to step in and help what was once really the only name in chips, right? They had 20 years where you didn't even mention anybody else. It was just Intel. It had to have Intel inside, for those of you old enough to remember. Or it was considered garbage.
That's going to be a nice stock to watch after hours, huh?
Yeah, it's an interesting play. And it's a unconventional play, but this is a bold action is required right now, and that's how I feel about it, and that's what was promised, and so that's what I expect, and I think this is a part of that. So
they're only 108 billion. Wow, that's pretty small, honestly.
Yeah, they're 1/40th the size of NVIDIA, and NVIDIA was 1/40th the size of Intel 20 years ago, probably 7 years ago. So that's how drastically that game has changed.
That's awesome.
Brandon said CleanSpark's escape velocity even left their share price in the dust. So they've been talking about, that's a term that CleanSpark likes to use. They've reached escape velocity. But their stock certainly hasn't yet. You're right. But I think it will. I think it will. I continue to add, and I'm dollar cost averaging up at this point big time, because Bitfarms and CleanSpark during the crypto winter, I went all in on. So at this point, my average is much, much lower than where it is. But I still, when I see it under $10, it just seems crazy to me. But
Tom, would you say, are you up over 50% of your overall investment or less than 50%?
More.
More, yeah.
Yeah.
Right there, guys. You hear that?
And I'm mostly in a sector that people think has completely failed. So take that for whatever it's worth. And it mostly has to do with dollar cost averaging. And yes, I did that through the entire crypto winter. So, you know, that brought my averages down on these things to stupid low numbers. So, and I'm holding.
How much has it dropped since like the high in I guess it was what, in April, May, June? Trying to remember when the high was.
Yeah, I'm down probably still 25%
Since then, yeah.
Since my absolute peak when everything ran earlier in this year.
Okay.
But having said that, I think we'll take that out. I don't think we're anywhere close to done. That's my opinion.
When do you think we'll take out the 23 run?
I think by the end of 2025, we're going to be looking at highs, not
Really?
all-time highs back to the previous cycle, because you know that's the next step. I'm talking about taking out the highs from this cycle. There's no excuse with these companies performing the way they are and Bitcoin performing the way it is, and the amount of profit they make. Even the companies with the highest cost per Bitcoin are minting money. They're making more money for Bitcoin per Bitcoin than Bitcoin was worth at the peak of the last cycle. So they're being undervalued. This is a part of the process, and I believe, and I think time is going to reward the people that can wait it out. But how much time? Because like I said, I've already been wrong on time. I thought we would have taken off long before now. So how long can they delay? I don't know. Will we have a Bitcoin crash in August and September? 25% say yes, 75% say no. So that's good. That's good to see. That's optimism. We're going to call that one a win. We've had a lot of 50-50 polls. Every poll's been, and that shows some real, you know, it kind of sums up where the market's at. Everybody's very unsure, but that one was nice to see. Now I'm just do another one.
I think that's, you know, it's like we were saying, until, you know, it felt like we could go off a cliff at any moment, but it also felt like you could go parabolic at any moment. It's the weirdest thing.
That's the volatility factor, and it makes it unbearable for certain people. Actually, for most people, it's too much. It's unbearable, and most people cannot long-term deal with this. Some people are great at swing trading it, right? I think it was Robbie in the comments section that talked about taking huge profits on IREN and shifting it over to CleanSpark, and I think that's probably going to pay off big time. That's my opinion. Just getting a poll ready. In the meantime, if you guys would be so kind, if you just got here, or if you have not yet, if you are willing to, hit the thumbs up button, smash the like button. It helps the channel out in real time. It helps us stream out. It helps us get the word out. So let's take a look at the next poll. Bitcoin by December 31st, 2025. So by the end of the year this year, I put 124,000 because we've already been there. So that's guaranteed. But is that where it ends? Or are we going to get to 150? Are we going to get to 175? Or are we going to get to 200? And I should have put 200 or more. But you can consider that if you think we're going to get to 250, you can pick 200. So where does everybody think we're getting? And while we're doing that, I want to show you a series of articles quickly because, you know, all of a sudden there's some shift. Well, you know what? I'm going to start on the other side.
Ah, here we go, Tom.
What?
What's the number? What's the number? I'm still, I don't know.
Oh, you haven't voted yet?
Yeah, no, I know. I think you got some wishful thinking, but you still think that strategic reserve is coming before the end of this year.
That's my belief. I'll say I'm most likely in the minority in that opinion. I think most people think that, you know, government works at the speed of government and it could be 18 months before anything happens along those lines. But I think they've been making a conscious effort to be crystal clear that they are going to lead on cryptocurrency. It's a core piece of this administration's puzzle. And I'm going to get more into that later.
Not that I would say that Trump would be doing this, but I'm sure that he's waiting for Eric's company to come into play before, you know, he makes any serious commitments. Not saying he would do that, though.
That's unofficially.
Really? I mean, why would you make it more expensive now?
So, a couple articles, because these are only a few days old. Top crypto traders flip bearish on Bitcoin and Ethereum in major sentiment shift. This was 4 days ago. Right? Bitcoin was up 4% today. So this is what I'm telling you. Every time there starts to be a consensus like this, I got another one. This was 1 day ago. 1 day ago. Bitcoin traders' 6-month outlook turns most bearish since June of 2023 as momentum worsens. 180-day call put skew on Deribit is now the most negative in over 2 years. So yesterday was a low point in Bitcoin optimism. And yesterday, for the moment, looks like it could have been a bottom. And this trend, it's relentless. And this is just 2 articles, but there was hundreds. Everything was, you know, we topped, you know, it's short term. A lot of them even were hedging their bets saying, listen, Bitcoin's still going to do its thing long term, but the next couple of months are a nightmare. And that's been the consensus out there. And I always just feel like, and that's why we talked on the Tuesday members only live stream, that there's a good chance we're getting a switcheroo fake out going on here and we're going to run on Friday. And that ended up being the case. So that's what we got as recently as yesterday. But now I'm going to look at a couple of different things. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong says Bitcoin could reach $1 million by 2030. This was 2 days ago. Armstrong joins Jack Dorsey and Cathie Wood in calling for explosive Bitcoin growth, with ARK Investment projecting as high as 3.8 million by the decade's end. So now you're talking about price predictions between 1 million and 3.8 million. And these aren't from random miscellaneous people. This is the CEO of Coinbase. You're talking about Jack Dorsey. You're talking about Cathie Wood. I mean, these are ultra high profile people. Now, they tend to be bullish on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. But there's more. There's, quote, no question in the world Bitcoin will be worth $1 million. So that's from Eric Trump. And that was at his appearance in Jackson Hole on Wednesday. So a couple of days ago. And he's calling himself, you can see, a Bitcoin maxi. So we got, I don't know how many Bitcoin maximalists we have here. I'm mostly a Bitcoin person for sure. I don't know if you would qualify me as a Bitcoin maximalist. I do think there's several other things that are going to succeed, but I think that 99.9% of the tokens that exist today won't exist 10 years from now. But is there 5 or 10 or 15 that are going to thrive? I think there is. Okay, so, all right, but so who cares? Who's Eric Trump to say that? All right, so next.
Let me just tell you, somebody wrote that Trump has 2 billion reasons. I think Trump is playing crypto as $100 billion play, by the way, just so you guys know. That, I think that's how he's playing it. I think that's why they're deep into ETH. And I think that's why ETH is going to pump, but I'm not a long-term believer in ETH.
We kind of have the same feeling on that one. I do think ETH is going to pump as well, but I don't have a high level of conviction in it as a blockchain. That's my opinion. Let's check in on the poll. All right, we got one of these numbers in first place here so far, big time. 150,000 year-end price target. So weigh in on the poll if you haven't voted and you're on a device where you can vote, and smash the like button if you haven't smashed the like button. It is much appreciated. Okay, so here's another one. Bitcoin price to hit $1.3 million by 2035, says crypto asset manager at Bitwise. So, you know, here's call after call after call for Bitcoin. Forget 200. We're sitting here arguing whether it's going to get to 150 or 175. These people are all talking about 1 million, 1.3 million. Kathy Wood is talking about 3.8 million. Michael Saylor's talking about 20 million by 2045. I mean, yes. Now, those are some of the most optimistic voices in the room. So I understand you got to weigh everything out. But these are no longer lone voices, you know, out on their own island. This is becoming consensus. And to speak directly to that, majority of dual asset investors see crypto outpacing stocks over the next decade. This is a Kraken survey. So, you know, if you're on Kraken, you're already in crypto, and they say dual asset investors, but 65% of those surveyed expect digital assets to deliver stronger growth than equities over the next 10 years. So there's a lot of optimism around Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, several others, and Brandon saying Tom Lee is the next Kathy Wood. And Tom Lee is out there. I'm going to get to some of his stuff. His company now owns 1.5 million Ethereum, the most of any public traded company in the world by far. SharpLink SBET is in second place with about 750,000, which is a gigantic number. To my knowledge, in third place, and you guys can drop in the comments if you know somebody that holds more than that, the next closest I could find was one of our former Bitcoin mining companies, Bit Digital, owns 120,000 Ethereum. So it kind of falls off a cliff after that. There's two big, but those companies are not doing well right now. And this goes back to a conversation we were having at the beginning of the stream. The treasury companies, the companies that are borrowing money and buying Bitcoin, or borrowing money and buying Ethereum, or borrowing money and buying XRP, the last several months, the last 3 or 4 months have not been good news for those companies, particularly the last month. They're underperforming dramatically. And I will tell you, to be fair, if you look at them over a multi-year picture, in 2024, And Microstrategy, now known as Strategy, but they didn't change their ticker, right? They have more than everybody else put together. They have over 620,000 Bitcoin. So their performance over the last 18 months is better than anybody's, but their performance over the last 4 months is not good. So I don't know. It's what I was worried about. It's what I've talked about on the stream, that maybe these companies are going to have an adjustment back down to reality. They seem to be, there was some euphoria around these. A lot of them have already pulled back dramatically. So time will tell. Maybe we'll do our next poll on that. So should we call this poll? Because it looks like there's a clear winner. No longer a majority, but I will say this, only 6% of you think we've peaked. 124K, which we've already reached, only 6%, which means 94% think we're getting to 150,000 or higher by the end of the year. 150,000 is in first place with 47%. 175,000 is in second place with 28%, and 200,000 or more is in third place with 19%. So that's 94% think we're going to have a good rest of the year. So I'm putting that in the win column big time.
That's a great point, Robert. Do you think the U.S. will have a strategic reserve, but not ensure U.S. miners make that reserve secure?
Yeah, I think, to your point, George and Robert, I think this administration has been crystal clear. Let's put it this way. The sum total market cap of all the Bitcoin miners put together is like 1/10 the size of Intel, which we were just talking about, is 1/40th the size of NVIDIA. So this is a tiny industry, yet the president had a meeting with all of the CEOs of the publicly traded Bitcoin miners. So it's not like it's not on the radar. And the president came out in the campaign and since saying that he wants the United States, it's this administration's objective to have the United States dominate Bitcoin mining. He called for the ridiculous, which is absolute hyperbole. He's hoping for America to mine 100% of the Bitcoin, which is not feasible. And this is what I would warn everybody, because there's a lot of people that have mixed feelings about Donald Trump. So he's prone to hyperbole, and that's a perfect example. No, there's no thinking person that thinks the United States is going to get 100% of the Bitcoin mining network. That's not happening. This just in.
Oh,
But
I see. Alt season might have kicked off, Tom. Holy sugar! Oh my goodness! I did not look at this at all. This is incredible.
We got some action today.
Oh my goodness! Yes. Holy smokes!
All right. Well, maybe today was the start. I know Ethereum was up 10% today.
Ethereum is up 14% right now.
It's now, so it's up a lot since I looked an hour ago.
Yeah. 4,842. Wow.
Let's take a look. Whereas Bitcoin is kind of hanging out sideways, just under $117,000. So not a bad place to be hanging out. So I'll add that to this next one. Just give me a second to type this in.
We are ready to rock and roll. I can just tell you, every 10 cents in XRP, I get a really big smile on my face. A lousy 10 cents.
Does an awful lot for you.
It just makes me smile.
And then I'll do this. Okay, what does everybody see for the next 6 months? So that's past the end of the year. Where's your bet? If you had to invest the next dollar, would you invest it in a Bitcoin miner of your choice, directly into Bitcoin or one of the ETFs, effectively at this point, other than the custody issue from an investment standpoint, those are the same thing. Or would you invest in some of the crypto treasury companies like MicroStrategy or BitMine or SBET? There's a bunch of those companies. Or is it altcoin season, to George's point, and is it time to jump into the altcoins? We'll see how that plays out. Did you cast your vote, George? This episode is brought to you by smash the like button, please. The thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, we're here every Friday for the world, and every Tuesday we have a members only, a little bit more in-depth, a little freer to talk on the members only stream. So you're welcome to join us there as well. Let's look at what the Bitcoin miners did this week, because we haven't actually gone to the official chart yet, and there's still a couple of stories I'm really itching to get to, but I think we should look at what the Bitcoin miners did this week. That's the whole point of this. Okay. Here's this week. Bitcoin, as always, in gold, up 0%. And we just looked. That's the dotted line I showed you. We're virtually exactly where we were at the close last Friday. Core Scientific down 4%. It's the only one down for the week. We had a bunch kind of mirroring Bitcoin's performance. BitDR up 0, HUT up 0, CleanSpark up 1%, Bitfarms up 1%, TeraWolf up 2%. But then things start to escalate. Marathon up 4%, and then it jumps. IREN up another 9%, already by far leading year to date. IREN has another week where Bitcoin's up 0, IREN's up 9%. Hive, that's the one I've been screaming about like crazy. So I switched. I did my Hive, and then I switched over to CleanSpark. Hive up 14% this week. Bitcoin up 0. Riot up 17% this week. Bitcoin up 0. CIFR up 22% this week. Bitcoin 0. So hard to say that the Bitcoin miners had a bad week. This was a depending on which ones you owned, it was a good to a very good week. And I will also note, those who own Core Scientific, it's not really even a play on Bitcoin miner anymore. I should almost take it off the list. There's a buyout proposal on the table. They have not bought a new Bitcoin mining machine in 5 years. They're really not. They mine Bitcoin, but they're really not a Bitcoin miner. And their stock is not trading correlated to Bitcoin. It's trading correlated to what people think is going to happen on this buyout that's going on. So I might take them off the list. Maybe we'll vote and let you guys decide if they should come off of our list. They no longer report on a monthly basis. Having said that, every day they do put a post out on X as to what they've done on that day, month to date, year to date, etc. So they are giving us some information.
Just because it's a company that was worth billions of dollars at one point in time, I'm just curious to know if there any chance that anything could happen to any Sphere 3D. It's $16 million market cap now.
And I don't think you'd find one person in the world to offer him $16 million for it.
Oh, really? So they're pretty much put a fork in them?
Well, maybe they're still working on that machine. Remember that? That
Yeah,
thing.
the Coca-Cola, what was it?
The Gatorade machine.
Yeah.
Drop in the comments if you guys remember the Gatorade machine. The too
No, it was
good
the
to be true machine.
Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew, yes, thank you, Mountain Dew. You're right. Also, a very rare event by me. I put out a video that day when they put that press release out, and I said, this is absolute, complete nonsense. There's no chance of this ever happening. I'm rarely that definitive because for the most part, you never know what's going to happen. But that press release was so ludicrous and absurd. It was a farce. It was a joke. And they've never really recovered. So, okay, so this was this week. So, good week for the Bitcoin miners. Let's take a look at month to date. I'm gonna start with July because, again, other than Core Scientific, July was a really good month for Bitcoin. We're gonna get to August, the month we're in right now, but I just want to give a little perspective because we've been on a little bit of a roll. July, very nice month for the Bitcoin miners. You had Bitfarms, an outlier, up 50%, 10xing what Bitcoin did, up 5%, but a lot of other strong performances. Then you go to June. Bitcoin up 3%. Look at these numbers. IREN up 74%. Core up 60%. That was on the announcement of the deal. CIFR 53%. Riot 40%. 28%. 24%. 22%. I mean, Bitcoin was only up 3%. There were 3 that trailed Bitcoin, 2 that were in the red. So July and June were spectacular. Here's May. Very good. Bitcoin had a great month, up 11%. Most of the Bitcoin miners outperformed that. Several of them 3x outperformed that. IREN up 37%, BitDR 34%, Core 31%, TeraWolf 27%, HUT 24%. So May, June, July, all great months. So we go to August and we say, all right, that's 3 great months. Are we going to have a letdown? Here's August. This is not a letdown. Unless you happen to own CleanSpark, which I do and I continued to buy. CleanSpark is down 14% this month. It is a dramatic outlier. I think that has everything to do with the fact that TeraWolf got a very big high-performance computing deal, and CleanSpark has made it clear that they have no interest in high-performance computing, although we're going to discuss that because I think that is no longer true.
Okay, I got to interject, Tom.
Go ahead.
Craig just wrote this. Craig Birch just wrote this. Did CleanSpark fire Rex Finance? Remember when we met him 4 years ago now? Zipping around those guys?
I remember.
Come on. What was he on their payroll?
That's a funny question, Craig, and I have no firsthand knowledge that that's ever true. but that was somebody who used to talk about them nonstop, and I'm not sure. I don't really know what's going on.
Well, I can tell you one thing is we used to get comments from the CEO saying, well, I'm glad you guys don't ask us for money.
Yeah, we've never been a paid sponsor of a Bitcoin miner. That's come in. I've got somebody knocking at my door.
Is that going to be right there? Is that going to be somebody right now giving us a deal?
Huh?
Someone giving us a deal right now? That would have been perfect.
Oh, I had a stranger knocking at the door.
That would have been awesome. That would have been like, hey, Tom, here's the deal.
Here's the deal. Do a CleanSpark video and we'll pay. No, that's not our thing.
When we met him, Robert, we decided at that point in time we were never going to pick on anybody in the Bitcoin miner industry. We've never said anything negative about anybody. Love everybody. Everybody's awesome. You know, he's just trying to get his, you know what I mean?
He's doing his thing.
What gets me though is this. I know nothing, okay? But Tom, he knows something. And like, I defer to Tom like all the time on stuff. Cause like he has an accounting mind, you know, and you don't know too many people that like survive that world of the big, you know, big four accounting lifestyle. I don't know if you guys do. Most of them die. They either get out or they die. And not too many make it to partner level or a manager level and still have their wits about them.
Their sanity.
Yes.
Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
Congratulations to anybody who's had the endurance to do that, run that gauntlet.
That's funny, Katie. That was Rex at the door saying, "Stop talking shit about me."
Oh man.
Sorry.
Oh, that's
We digress.
all right. We digress. Let's take a look at the poll and let's keep looking at the numbers. And if you would, we're at 67. We stand a chance here, George, of getting to
I
100.
figured we were already there.
No way. We're not even close. We need big help. So
Listen, I'm going to recommend a show. I never do this, but I'm going to tell you something. You guys have to watch Young Rock on Prime. I am telling you, if you guys are around,
this is not
my
a
age,
paid
I'm
endorsement
50,
either.
Yeah, 56. I didn't know he lives right around the corner from me. I didn't know that one either. The Rock.
I didn't know that either.
Just the nostalgia of seeing everybody, the Macho Man, the crazy, you know, the Andre the Giant, you know, Ric Flair. I mean, he was around everybody. I mean, this guy was destined for greatness.
Oh, that was his universe for a while.
I had no idea. I mean, it just blew my mind, the stuff that he was talking about.
Well, I have not watched it yet, but I'm going to watch it this weekend.
It's probably been the best show I've watched in a long time.
On your strong recommendation.
Yeah. So if you don't like it, blame Tom.
Wait a second here.
I mean, because that's a guy worth over $100 million.
Oh, he's got to be.
I put him probably about 250. You know,
I would be guessing, but I feel like he's got to be worth that all day long.
Yeah, and I would say that's somebody that's made it.
Yeah, that's making it. I was looking on a totally unrelated matter. I watched the Steve Jobs movie the other day, and it's not a new movie. It's several years old, starring Ashton Kutcher. And, you know, most of us here on the stream are old enough to remember all that stuff as it was happening. So it was interesting to watch, you know, their take on the screen. I'm not sure how true the whole story was, but after that, I you know, the story didn't make it clear whatever happened to Steve Wozniak. And so I looked it up, and his net worth is $100 million. Had he held his Apple stock from the date of the IPO, it would be worth approximately $200 billion right now.
Are you kidding me?
And the thing is, he gave a lot of it away. So in the movie, they represented that, and they didn't show the other side of this. In the movie, and I'll be done digressing, we'll get back in a minute, they represented that Steve Jobs basically screwed his, you know, team from his garage when they were nobody, they had nothing, they had no money. He had a few guys that believed in him. They were literally working in a garage, and he cut all those guys out of the IPO. Well, apparently Wozniak circled back around and gave them all stock. So they're probably all billionaires, and he isn't. So you can fact check me on that. That's the situation as I understand it. I thought it was interesting, but I'm not crying for him either, because he does have $100 million. So I think he's doing just fine. So let's see what's going on with the poll. Which is the best investment for the next 6 months? So this is pretty close, super close. Bitcoin miners is in first with 36%. Altcoins is in second with 34%. Just directly going into Bitcoin or the Bitcoin ETFs, 23%. Only 7% say, the crypto treasury companies like MicroStrategy. So that's the only thing dragging distantly behind. So I will show you guys my trades that I've been tracking. And again, because usually I'm buy and hold, but I did have a lot of MicroStrategy and I was worried about it. I was underwater on it, and I decided the day that I got to break even, I was going to sell it and buy Bitcoin miners with it. And I did that on April 23rd. So it is now. So that was 121 days ago. Had I left that money in MicroStrategy, I would be up 2.4%. I am now up 157% on that money. And that is from investing it in a combination of big parts IREN and Hive and a little bit of Riot. So that's how much. So like I said, over an 18-month period, MicroStrategy has outperformed everything, even still with this considered. But over the last 4 months, you're talking about 157% compared to 2.4%. So I feel like I got out at exactly you win some, you lose some. Trust me, there's other decisions I made that were, on the other side of this equation and did not work out well. But this one, that was a winner. And I think it's reflected in the fact that only 6% of people are picking the crypto treasury companies because they're just struggling right now. 10K XRP by 2045 said, when XRP spanks $10,000, Cleanspark will still be at $10. I don't believe that. I'm an XRP person. That's the only altcoin I own. But I think Cleanspark is going to get its turn. That's all I'll say. That's my opinion. That's what I think. Robert Anderson is saying, yeah, I have little conviction in altcoins, dabble, but just a little. And then Robert said, you took stick for that too, Tom. Height of MicroStrategy euphoria. Yes, I was called an imbecile by basically the majority of the vocal minority, I guess, because most people didn't learn the rule. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. But yes, I got destroyed for making that trade. But I feel like that one, clearly that one ended up in the win column. So thanks for remembering, Robert. And Sourmelon Gaming has said MicroStrategy will go sub 300. You heard it here first. So that would be a nightmare. I think that would probably put it at around 1 times its net asset value. So that's the concern I had. They were trading at big premiums to their net asset value. And the concern was, is that premium going to turn into a 1-to-1? Is it going to? We've already lived through the Grayscale experience where it went from a big premium on Grayscale's assets owned to actually at the bottom a 49% discount. So they owned the Bitcoin and they were still worth half the Bitcoin they owned. So the market doesn't have to be rational, and it usually isn't. So that's the only thing I would say. And Katie's saying, George called all-time highs in a year on miners, so I'll be waiting. You stand by that, George?
I do. I think, anything can happen, between now and then, but we're in a good position. I don't think anything's going to really seriously happen. I don't know. I mean, look at what our friend just did in Ukraine. I don't want to talk about it because I'm sure we won't get to 100, but that was not a smart move.
We're at 75 likes. We're scratching and clawing our way to try to get to 100. I appreciate everybody who has hit the like button.
Also, I still believe this. I believe all that EV money is moving into the miners, the Bitcoin miners.
Well, it better go somewhere because
it's got to go somewhere because people don't understand. There was a report. I was watching the Secretary of Energy talk, and there was a report talking about how bad windmills and electric solar panels are on a cost per kilowatt, and then just how unreliable it is. It's crazy.
Windmills at this point are largely agreed upon as a failure. They're so inferior to all the other products out there that ultimately I believe there will be no windmills. And by the way, update. We were using windmills 500 years ago, so that's not exactly the cutting edge technology that's going to take us into the next generation. So it is no surprise that
there was another 100-acre solar farm in Texas that got destroyed by hailstorm again.
Right. There's just so much wrong with those things that they're still getting subsidized at this point, but they'll go the way of ethanol, in my opinion, and they'll be gone. And that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of other there's lots of good energy diversity coming, and there's lots of opportunity from an investment standpoint. But in my opinion, that is not one of them. And T. Boone Pickens back in the day actually predicted wind was the next big thing. But he was wrong.
All right.
But he was right about a lot of other things. So he wins in the end. Sour Melon Gaming. Fantastic job the last 4 years, Tom and George. A+. Thank you very much, Jeff. Sour Melon Gaming. And you've pretty much been here all along. So thank you for your support as well.
There is one reason why I believe we're going to see sub Bitcoin $100,000 US dollars. You want to know why?
Absolutely.
Because I think they got one more time in them, and then I don't think it can ever happen again.
I will never rule it out because we've seen.
I mean, it can obviously, but I mean, it's going to be something crazy that happens. It's because it's going to become so stable.
It's getting more and more stable. The adoption is growing and growing and growing. We're at the very beginning of that process. Every single week, multiple pieces of gigantic big news of adoption occur. I'll get to a couple of those next.
But that's the only reason why. I think that, the most likelihood of let's even talk about next year. I mean, the chances of it getting below 100,000 next year will be a lot less than the next 6 weeks. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, the next 6 weeks are crucial. And I think that after these 6 weeks, I think that then it's pretty much game over. We get into the fourth quarter, and I think we're sitting in a beautiful, beautiful position.
And you're describing that September period that everybody is definitely terrified about. And there are times that has been bad news. And it seems to be the consensus expectation that everybody's very nervous about September. On September 17th, there's the ultimate potential whammy. If they don't lower rates on September 17th, everything is going to crash.
Forewarning us.
Not financial advice. I'm just saying what I'm saying. So that's the one thing I would be looking out for. So here's the month of August. Right after 3 great months in a row, there's nothing wrong with this month. Okay, so Bitcoin's only up 3%. We've got a bunch lagging. Marathon up 1%, Bitfarms up 1%, Core Scientific break even, Riot down 1%. Cleanspark is the outlier, and that's why I've been buying it. And I think I started a while back saying I just think this is because Cleanspark is the only pure play Bitcoin miner. They didn't get any bounce on the announcement from TeraWulf. Most of these other companies did because they're at least anywhere from dabbling to heavily committed to high performance computing. CleanSpark isn't. So you can see they lost the month of August. But look, here's another, after 3 great months in a row, you've got, TeraWulf now. TeraWulf got a giant contract. They're up 78% in the month of August. IREN up 33% in August. Hive 18%, CIFR 17%, HUT 10%. These are great returns, and even the ones that aren't are basically plus or minus the performance of Bitcoin. So a little sideways consolidation. We've reset a lot of the technicals to make way for the next push up. I feel like everything looks positive. And then if we go, let's go year to date. Where'd it go? Oh, yeah, here. Year to date. Okay, so IREN is up 118% in 2025. Bitcoin, you'll see, is up 25%. I gotta show another chart to put this in perspective. This is the identical chart that we're going to go look at again in a minute. This is what this looked like on April 4th. Now, remember, we called the bottom on April 8th. Just basically, I guess that makes that the Tuesday after this Friday. The Bitcoin mining sector was a nightmare wrapped in a disaster at this point. Bitcoin down 10% on the year. The big winner on the year was CleanSpark, down 21%. Multiple of these were down over 50%. Hive 51, TeraWulf 54. And remember, TeraWulf's now up. Remember TeraWulf down 54, and then you look where it is right now. Remember, Hive down 51, and we'll see where it is right now. Where's IREN? Down 40%. So as of April 4th, IREN was down 40%. They're now up 118% year to date. So this was a disaster. And that's why it was clear. This was when the fear and greed index was at not just annual lows, at historic, I think it was the second lowest number in the history of the overall market fear and greed index, and the lowest number in the history of the crypto fear and greed index, which is not quite as old, but it's about 5 years old now. So from there, fast forward to now, in place of all of this red, you've got this. Right? Remember, TeraWulf was down 51%. It's up 62% now. IREN was down 40%. It's up 118% now. CIFR's up 38%. RIOT's up 29%. We have 4 now that are exceeding Bitcoin. Now, to be fair, any Bitcoin mining company that doesn't outperform Bitcoin, for me, I will feel like failed, because you're taking a bigger risk and you should be getting a bigger reward if the underlying asset is succeeding and Bitcoin is succeeding. So while this is trending in the right direction massively, I don't think we're done. When that chart was red on that Friday that I showed that red chart in April, I said, I think almost every single one of these Bitcoin miners will end the year in the green. And we're now in the middle of August, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the green. We got 2 more that are just a one good day away from being in the green. Right, you got Hive that was down 50 or 60%. It's down 12% now. Bitfarms, same thing, down 15% now. So even these, one good week and the entire field is green except for BitDeer. BitDeer has struggled. I think good things are ahead for BitDeer. They're looking to, let me see if I can find their... So you can see by Q4, BitDeer is looking to get to 40 exahash. right? From January, they were at 8.7 exahash. So they are looking to become one of the big players. And I think if and they seem to be doing what they say they're going to do, and if that continues, their cost per coin needs to come down, which I think it will as they, increase their fleet dramatically, which with much more efficient machines. I think you're going to see good things with BitDeer. That's my opinion. So that's what's going on with the stocks. Just to take a quick look at a few of the charts. First of all, there was a giant green day today in the market. This is the S&P 500, the SPY. Basically closing at just about an all-time high. And I think it did hit an all-time high intraday today. So here we are at a brand new high. And remember, this was April 7th. That was the bottom. We had, not only was it the bottom, but as almost is always the case, we had a V-shaped recovery. And people always say, well, we're not going to get a V-shaped recovery this time. We're really in for it. And by the way, it's even going to get worse before it gets better. But inevitably, you see this pattern play out. And then it's pretty much been a straight line up ever since then. So that's the overall market. Bitcoin's done the exact same thing. The Bitcoin miners, a bit of a roller coaster. If you look at Bitfarms, Bitfarms double bottomed at around 68 cents, even as recently as June 23rd. That's just 2 months ago. So from that day to this day, they're up 82%. And if I go to the peak of this day, they were up 90%. And if I go to the peak of a few days ago, they were up 106%. So Bitfarm has basically doubled in the last less than 2 months. And again, everybody was crushing me when I was buying Bitfarms down here. And the narrative was, well, they're done, they're going out of business. Well, they doubled. So where they go from here, we'll see. But a part of the reason that they doubled, let me see if I have this. Okay, so this is Form 13D filed by RIOT. RIOT at one point owned almost 91 million shares of Bitfarms. They were by far the #1 shareholder. They were attempting a hostile takeover. As of August 18th, so the beginning of this week, they are now down to 25.6 million shares. So my big fear, trading volume on Bitfarms had crashed. It was trading between 7 and 10 million shares a day, and RIOT owned 90 million shares. They had a 9-day supply that they had filed their intent to sell all of that. That seemed, on paper, that seemed like a disaster. But it played out the exact opposite way. For whatever reason, the volume in Bitfarms increased dramatically. Maybe it's just the resolution of the fact that this hostile takeover bid is over. It was dead on arrival, in my opinion, but it's certainly over now. They're down from 91 million shares down to 25 million shares. That's a 1-day supply. They could sell all of this tomorrow and it would be over. So this is no longer even a factor for Bitfarms. And this was hanging over their head in a big, big way. So that's a giant thing that has been cleared up for them, which is why I didn't sell. I talked a bunch about maybe selling and switching out of it. And I said, no, I'm not going to sell at the low. I'm going to buy. So instead of selling, I bought. I got one I just want to get to because I just want to. How about that? Harvard professor who predicted Bitcoin crash to $100 says regulators were too lax. So here's a Harvard professor of economics. This is This is a professor in economics at Harvard. Predicted in 2018 that Bitcoin would be worth $100 rather than the $100,000 in a decade.
Missed it by that much, Tom.
Yeah, just missed it by that much. Bitcoin's price has surpassed 100,000, contrary to, I don't want to name this person, but you guys can see the name, and he's a professor at Harvard. And listen, he's the one who opened his mouth, right? I'm on here once a week, and I make predictions, and if I'm wrong, and I'm wrong, and if I'm right, I'm right. I don't think I've ever missed anything by predicting it was going to be 100 and it turned out to be 100,000. That could be the worst prediction I've ever seen in history. And here's the thing. Here's why I want to go through this. He's still sour grapes about it and not admitting he was wrong. Right? We can all admit this guy was wrong. Objectively, factually, just absolutely incorrect. But what does he say? In reality, Bitcoin price rose above $100,000 this year, a tenfold increase from March of 2018's sub 10,000 level when this prediction was made. The professor reflected on how he had missed the mark, saying that he had been, quote, far too optimistic about the U.S. coming to its senses regarding sensible cryptocurrency regulation. So that's just straight sour grapes, right? So basically he's saying, I'm smarter than everybody. I thought the U.S. was going to come to its senses, but they're stupid. And I'm a Harvard professor and I'm smarter. And so even though I was wrong by 10,000%, I was right. It's just because everyone else is stupid. What do you think of that, George?
Stupid is, stupid does, Tom. It
just gets under my skin. So I had to go through this.
There's never been anything like Bitcoin before, Tom.
No, there hasn't.
So he's not necessarily wrong to be a skeptic of it, because there was never anything like it before. And that's why this is so amazing, and that's why people don't understand. Shit, we don't have that many people watching. Nasara Jasara is what's really going on right now, and how we're really changing our financial system. I can say that at 6 o'clock. This whole, no one's talking about it, Tom, about the tariffs and how much money there is in the United States for people, that they're going to get back. That Trump is looking for a way to get rid of the internal IRS and use the external, for defunding, going forward. I think anything out of the box thinking is good right now for the situation of the approximately $40 trillion of debt that we have in America. It's not going to be solved the way we got into it.
No, we're broken and we need something different completely to fix the problem. You're 100% right.
Yeah,
but here's why I'm giving him no credit, because yes, you're right. This was a phenomenon, what happened with Bitcoin. But it was at $10,000 when he said it was going to go to 100. So that was a pretty bad call all on its own. But worse, he's doubling down. He's saying it's not that he was wrong. It's just that the U.S. did a really bad job.
Tom, the other things is here's the other things that no one's talking about is what crypto fixes. Everybody watching this, we all know what crypto fixes. There's a lot of problems the United States have. There's a lot of problems the world has that crypto fixes all those problems. And nobody likes that.
That's right. But he's putting it on, he's saying, well, it's just about tax evasion and illegal activities. So he thought the U.S. wouldn't be this dumb and let something like that go on. But our stupidity made his prediction wrong. On today's stream, I just talked about how I've been dead wrong on the timing of the Bitcoin miner stocks. That's all I'm asking of this guy. Everybody gets things right and things wrong, although this is historically wrong. This is the most wrong anybody's ever been about anything, but just say it. Just say, you know what? Wow, that went the other way.
We have only, Tom and I have one friend that we know that graduated from Harvard. And they are not turning out the people that they used to turn out. I mean, to think about the IQ of that guy, you know, that graduated from Harvard, and the IQ of the people that are currently graduating from Harvard is probably significantly lower.
There's education is not happening. And again, if to get political, I'll just go ahead and say it. These kids aren't getting educated anymore.
No, they're being conditioned.
So it's not good. And they're listening to people like this. Yeah. And it's not good. So I'd be glad to talk to him about it if he wants
Just,
to.
you know, I think he could have misspoke and said XRP was going to get to 100.
Maybe that's what he meant.
That
would make a lot more sense.
I think that's what he meant to say.
What's Larry mean by this? Money to Harvard, money to Harvard.
I don't know. Maybe it's money to Harvard.
Well, and ironically, Harvard just bought $10 million of Bitcoin in their endowment fund.
That's funny. 87, Tom? What are we up to now?
91.
Woohoo! We're getting there, Tom.
We're in the ball game. It could happen.
We should do a round robin at the end. Where we just overwhelm people with information. Like, did you see the latest? I feel so bad for her. Britney Spears on Instagram Wednesday, her post.
No, I did not.
Oh my God, the poor girl. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who looks possessed or tripping on drugs. It's just, wow. I felt so bad.
Britney Spears, I thought she got her act together and everything was okay. No, I'm wrong.
No, watch the video.
Oh, there, I'm wrong on that call too. Oh my God.
I mean, Harvard gets paid from what they do or say, yeah.
Yeah, Harvard's a hedge. I call them a hedge fund that has classes for some reason that I don't know why.
Yeah.
They have
I mean, it makes sense.
They have $54 billion in their endowment / hedge fund.
So I wanted to see what people thought. What do you guys think you need to retire on? How much money? That was going to be my question.
You want to do a poll on that?
Yeah. How much money do you think you need to retire?
Which is the best investment? There was a clear winner here. Bitcoin miners at 42% and altcoins in second place at 28%. So that's what people think. So we're still almost a majority of Bitcoin miner. Well, not quite, 42%. All right, what do you want the options to be, George?
I mean, you got to start with $1 million, right? Will says 800,000. 1 million, I guess 1 million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million. Is that cool?
I can only do 4. 1 million.
3 million, 5 million.
Oh, yeah.
10 million.
Oh, that's why you named 4. Good point, George.
3 million at least to retire. Retire. I know. I got to be funny, Robert. Golden years, my ass.
And the question is are any of us really going to retire? I think, for me, I think the answer is we'll just change the way we work.
Right. My whole thing is this. I've done I don't want to tell you. I've done away with doctors. I know you're going to laugh, but with the way Tom was treated during COVID, I realized I can't rely on doctors anymore.
It was shocking.
They almost killed him during COVID.
Yeah, I'm lucky I escaped that one. That could have gone either way. So I'm thankful that went the way it went. How much money do you need to retire? $1 million, $3 million, $5 million, or $10 million? I got one more thing I want to talk about, because I think the EU, drop in the chat if any of you guys are in Europe.
I'm in Europe, Tom.
I think they are on the verge of making a gigantic strategic error, and I cannot understand how they don't understand this. So if anybody in the EU is listening,
nice, Larry,
you might want to tune into this next portion of the program. Just have to find it.
Isn't that amazing that still $1 million is like so unreachable? This is what it just pisses me off to see that, because look at the value of the dollar in the United States and how much it's gotten destroyed, you know?
Yeah. Oh, if I don't find this article, I will be...
You better find this article, Tom.
I will be mad.
97, we got 3 more to go, Tom. 98, we might do it. Tom, it's looking good.
I can't believe it.
Don't say that.
Give me 30 seconds, guys. I'm going to find this article because I think it's an important
98.
one.
Come on, 99. We don't ask for much, guys. Just 100 likes.
This article came out today. UK is Europe-ish. Formerly, although your money was never part of the euro, but formerly a part of the EU, no, right? Brexit?
Yeah.
Anybody remember that?
Yep.
U.S. stablecoin law jolts EU into rethinking digital euro strategy. So I just want to go through this real quick because I think this is absolutely the dumbest thing they could possibly do. So if anybody who is watching that knows anybody, you might want to let them know this, or you can leave in the comments that you think I'm the idiot because, you know, it could go either way.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
We did it.
We got 100 likes. Thank you very much, everybody. The Genius Act passed, caught many in Europe off guard, and sparked concerns dollar-backed stablecoins could tighten Americans' grip on cross-border payments. Okay, I get that. That makes sense. European policymakers are ramping up efforts to launch a digital euro. So let me go to the real article. European Union policymakers are discussing ramping up efforts to introduce a digital euro as the U.S.'s new stablecoin law intensifies pressure on the bloc to keep up the pace in this fast-moving world of digital money, the Financial Times reported. $288 billion of stablecoins are pegged to the U.S. dollar. But here's the problem. In a notable shift, officials are now weighing whether to launch the central bank digital currency, so a CBDC, on the public blockchains like Ethereum and Solana, rather than the private infrastructure previously envisioned. A CBDC, to me, is literally the exact opposite of a stablecoin. A stable coin is an independent coin that is pegged to something, for instance, the US dollar. And the United States created an act defining exactly how they had to peg it that way so that they couldn't break, because we all remember the entire ecosystem that collapsed upon itself when there was some type of algorithmic pegging that was going on. It depegged and everybody lost all their money. So no more of that. We've defined how we're going to peg things to a dollar, and it's rarely off by, you know, 1/10 or 100th of a percent. A CBDC is government currency. That would be like a digital dollar in the US. That would be like the Treasury Department or the Fed putting out a digital dollar instead of, dollar bills. That's the exact opposite of what the United States just did. They just encouraged every innovator and entrepreneur to go peg their product to the US dollar. And so therefore, all of the people involved in cryptocurrency who tend to be, I'm going to use the word anti-establishment, but that's might be too strong, that tend to be skeptical of the establishment. And the last thing they want to do is buy a coin from the government, by the government, that's tracked literally so they can know every single thing you buy and sell. So that's actually the fundamental premise for the current administration backing Bitcoin and creating all of this regulation. They don't want a digital dollar. They were adamant they don't want to move to a digital dollar. Now, here's the EU in response to the US creating a more regulation-friendly environment to create tokens pegged to the dollar, stable coins. The EU is talking about doing a CBDC. So to me, I think this is inside down, inside out, upside down logic. I don't understand what they're doing, and I think that they will just fall even further behind if they do this. And competition is good and healthy, so I'd like to see, it makes sense. Peg a stable coin to the euro. Peg a stable coin. There's not a lot of candidates out there, but the euro is certainly one of them. But they don't want to do that. Instead, they want it to be the euro. And to me, that's a monumental mistake. What do you guys think? Am I crazy?
Yes, you're crazy.
You're just saying that on general principle.
Yeah. Well, Tom, I got to sneak out.
All right.
It was great. I had fun, everyone.
Yes, thank you. Let's just check in. Bitcoin sitting at 116,894, so just under 117,000. Thank you, George. Thank you to all of our members. Special thanks to the members and the super chats. Thanks to everybody who subscribed. Thanks to everybody for smashing the like button and getting us back over 100 likes. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. And for the members, we will see you guys on Tuesday.